Are you able to see my screen? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
No, sir.
Check your already shared. So day one, that is today, we'll start with database MySQL. So how many of you know MySQL is a database and
My
open source?
MySQL.
So we'll start with MySQL today. MySQL, how to install MySQL, how to create database, how to create table, how to insert data into tables, right? We'll start with this today, and tomorrow we are going to learn how to update data in a table, how to delete data, how to fetch data from table with SQL query, obviously, how we can make a SQL query join or fetch data from multiple tables, how to use SQL functions, fetch record, and then of course we'll learn what is table normalization. Okay. From day 3 onward, we'll start learning Python. It's a programming language. So first we go with the history of Python, then obviously Python installation, then ID installation, like where will be coding the ID, and then basic programming concept, what is programming, how we can start programming. Although all these things you have already learned, I guess, but still you need a brush up to start a project. Then of course create your first Python program, and day 4 will start with Python keywords, condition statement, iteration, then concept of object oriented programming, that is OOPS, then class and OOPS properties. And in day 5 we will be defining user defined function, event handling, then creating basic web page and adding controls like text box, button, and all other controls, how we can add controls to a web page. Then after that, we'll learn how to connect your web page with the database, and lastly, exception handling. And day 6, that is on Saturday, we'll learn about a framework of Python, that is Django. Every day in the morning session, we'll have a training session, and the afternoon session, say 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, whichever suits you, that will decide today only. So we'll have a practical session. After this session, I will give you some questions which Upender ji already told you, like you have to solve the questions or do it practically, and we'll check or we'll have a technical session, practical session in the evening. Now, next week onward, we will divide you guys into 2 groups, and we will assign modules to each group that you have to complete it, and every day you have to be online from 10 to 6. Like we can reach you or you can reach us also in case of any clarity you required. Day 3 also we will be having the same scenario, like modules will be given to you and you will be coding that modules and returning back to us. In week 4, we'll integrate all the modules in one project, and after that we will create a documentation of that project, obviously after testing the application. So it's a compact schedule, you have to follow it, obviously we all have to follow it and make it a successful project, because we got a project from a reputed client in Kolkata for which we will be creating this project. Rather, you all will be involved in this project with us. So now we start with today's agenda, that is, what is MySQL? MySQL is a database, right? We all know. So can you tell me what is data?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, what is data?
Data is anything which have some meaningful value.
Okay. So suppose I put a dot here. Suppose I put a dot here. Is it a data?
So data is any information basically that is stored inside a computer. So that is data.
Very good. Any meaningful information. If this dot has a if this dot has a meaningful meaning, then it's a data,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now data we are clear about. Now then, what is database?
A place where we store the data.
Great. Suppose this is a Word file. So I type some data in it, some information in it, and save it. Is it a database?
Sir, database is like a collection of data where we organize them structuredly.
So that means keeping data in a structured format. For keeping data in a structured format, we use database, right? Or
Yes.
storing information in a structured format, we use database, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now, MySQL is a powerful database, rather it's a RDBMS. So now what is RDBMS?
Relational database management system.
Okay. So we learn about data and database. Now what is management system then?
Where we can manage the data we stored. Organizing the data.
So it is a system of managing data uh in the form of related identities like tables and indexes, etc.
Good. So management system is how we this is a system by which we can manage the data so that our client can receive or insert data easily. They can fetch data very easily. This is the way. This is a system that will manage your data to store, right? And R stands for relational database. So relating two or more database, MS SQL is a open source database and it's a product of Oracle. It's basically open source, that means it's free to use. For many applications, we develop backend database as MySQL. To install MySQL, we need a web server. Either it's a Apache or Tomcat or any other. How many of you have installed MySQL?
I am using it on Ubuntu.
Sir, I am also using it from Ubuntu.
Ubuntu, okay. Anyone else? Okay. No issues. We'll install today. We'll see how we can install MySQL in our Windows machine. For that, we need a web server, that is XAMPP. We need a XAMPP web server. It's also free. You can download it. In my case, it's Windows 10. For you all, you can use Windows version also, that is MySQL Workbench. But since we'll be using Python, that's why we need a web server. So after downloading, you can install it. The MySQL is already there. You can keep everything, or you can remove all this. Like FileZilla. FileZilla is used for FTP purpose when we upload files to web server, live web server. FileZilla is used. Okay, so you can keep, or like I don't require this one. Location where I will install this XAMPP server. Since I already have, so it will not allow me. So after that, you can click on next. It will start installing. Clear? Can you start installing now? How many of you can install now? What about others?
So
So the file
unfortunately,
is
I
being
do not have
downloaded.
access to internet on my PC right now.
Okay.
I will definitely install for the next class.
So rest all are installing, right?
Yes, sir.
So after your installation is complete, you will get a control panel like this. Now let me know how many of you get this control panel. You can put it in the chat box also. It will take little time for installation. Yeah, somebody is getting problem. Which sort of problem? Downloading or installation? No issues. If your internet is slow, that is. So after you install, you will get a control panel like this. So first thing is you have to start the web server. To start the web server, just click in the start button.
Sir, I have a
Yeah,
problem, sir.
yeah,
Sir,
tell
when
me.
I clicked install, it's showing a Bitnami for exam application, sir. So I have to install the module also.
Hmm.
Sir, it's showing when I've installed the XAMPP folder, it is showing a Bitnami application, sir. Bitnami module.
Bitnami module, right? You downloaded from which location? This is
Sir,
your location?
from the website only, sir. XAMPP download, sir, from there only, the official
Yeah,
website.
yes. And your Windows version is matched with the web server?
Yes, sir.
32-bit or 52-bit?
Yes, sir.
Did
So
you get?
at the background, but it's still installing, sir. It's saying Bitnami for XAMPP provides free installing, and also background it is unpacking the files.
Okay, let it complete.
Okay, sir.
Great, done. So you got this control panel, right? Yeah. So start the Apache web server and then start MySQL. Then click on action. It will redirect you to the database page. So how many of you got this screen? Only one. So now after we get the screen, we can create a database. You have to put the database name. Suppose I put, say, ADAMAS. For now, keep all this thing default and just create it. In the left panel, you will get a database name as ADAMAS. In the left panel, you will have all the databases that you are having in this XAMPP server. So now I've just created a database named ADAMAS. Now, till now, how many of you have any problem? You can ask me. Are you guys getting my voice?
So I have one question, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me.
So we need to click the XAMPP control, right?
Yeah, control panel. In your start menu, there will be a menu called XAMPP control panel. This you have to click. After clicking, you will get this screen.
Yes, sir.
Then,
Sorry, sir. The net is quite slow here.
okay, that is there. So then start the Apache server and then start MySQL. First, you need to start the Apache server, then you have to start the MySQL. So, which process you are asking for? Database creation. Okay. This is my admin page. Now, in the admin, how I reach this admin page? Let's start from there only. From here, I have to click on admin. I reach to this page, admin page. Then there is a menu called databases. When I click here, it will ask me to create a database. Here I have to put the database name. Suppose I put SHA underscore SHA Infotech, and then I just click on create.
Sir, for me it is showing access denied, sir.
Why? Which access? Creating database or starting the
Sir, I've done the no, sir. It is showing welcome to PHP MyAdmin. MySQL said cannot connect due to invalid settings.
Have you started the MySQL server? The second one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, it is getting started and then automatically it is stopping, sir.
Automatically stopping. Do you have
Yes, sir. Like for
IIS
few
server
minutes.
you have installed? Just disable IIS server if you have already installed it. Or check if your IIS is running or not. Now let me know how many of you have already created a database named ADAMAS. Few of you are not responding. Are you not getting? Okay, just taking a 2-minute break. Let everybody come in the same page. So still somebody saying that they're installing, downloading. So let it complete by everybody. So give me 2 minutes time. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. So till now what we have done, we have installed web server, XAMPP server, that is Apache web server, and we have created a database named ADAMAS, right? We have created database. Now we have to create database objects. First object we'll create, that is table, where we can store data. So in the ADAMAS, just select ADAMAS in the left panel, give a name of your table, say student list, and how many number of columns we'll have in this table. Say we'll have student ID, student name, parent's name, gender, contact number, and home location. That means how many? 6. So we can create 6 columns. After changing column, then click on Go. First one is column name. Then we have to specify data type. How many of you are aware of data types?
Yes.
Okay. So when we are inserting data into tables, we have to specify certain data types, like what type of data we are inserting, whether it's an integer type, only numeric value we are inserting, or we are inserting alphanumeric value, or we'll insert Boolean value like true false, or we insert date in a database, or we can insert image or binary data. So that we have to specify. For now, suppose we are inserting student ID as integer only. So we'll make no change here. Then student name. See, student name cannot be a number. So for that, we need a string. There are two types of strings. One is character, the other one is varchar. Now, what's the difference between character and varchar? I can specify character. Yeah, someone is. Tell me who knows the answer. What is the difference between character and
So we can use number also with character.
okay
Number,
and varchar
any symbol.
and in
String is an
varchar?
array of characters. So.
Under string we can use this character or varchar. Now then, what is the difference between character and varchar?
In
So just
worker,
like he said, sir,
So
we
in
can use
character, we
variable.
have to define the length, and in variable character, the length is not clearly defined. It can be of any length.
Okay.
So in varchar, the memory itself is not allocated to the string, whereas in character, if we allocate 30 bytes, it is already taking up the space of 30 bytes. While in varchar, it is not the case.
Very good. This is the right answer. Like if you declare this student name as character and you specify, say, character, number of character in a name, maximum will be 50. Suppose you have 1,000 record in this table. For each record, name for name, it will allocate say 50 number of space or 50 bytes for each name. Whereas in varchar, if you specify it as 50 and suppose few names are, suppose say you have a student named Raju, only 4 characters. So it will allocate only 4 character, not the 30 character. Whereas in case of character, if you specify it as a 50 and you made a name as Raju, though your Raju having only 4 characters, but in database memory, it will allocate 50 bytes all along. Am I clear? Now, this is the value length. Here I can specify 50. There are few types in this thing, like text is there. Then what is text?
we can add text here with
Then
so
what is the
many words.
difference? In varchar also you are adding text only.
Sir, in text, the size is already defined to something. I forgot the actual size.
It's 255.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This long text is also there. Binary you can use binary. For now, we are using only varchar. Date of birth, it will be of type date. For gender, we use varchar again. Sometimes you can use character also, depends on the application. or we can use character only. Either it's a M or F. So we can give contact number. We give it as integer. After specifying all the column names, then we can save it. So this is a table that I have created. If you in integer, if you don't specify the length, by default it will take a length of 11. Rest all we have specified the values.
So what is this collation?
Which one?
So so it is written right in the above collation. Yes, beside type.
The name type collision attributes null default in that.
If I have any specified constraint I specified or not. So that I have not yet specified. So that's why it's not coming everything.
So I didn't quite understand, sir. Could you explain again?
See, when we create a database for string type, it takes script to generate the string. So that is the script name is coming, offline 64 generous, and for integer collation is not required.
Okay, sir.
Now we have created a table. We have created database and we have created table also. Can anyone tell me that we made a mistake in creating this table? What that mistake is?
So not setting any keys.
Which type of key?
So primary key.
Anyone else?
Or the type of the primary key within the surrogate key, setting it to student ID.
Okay.
So I think primary key is not mandatory.
Primary key is not mandatory. Okay. Suppose your student ID, yeah, tell me.
We haven't auto-incremented the student ID yet.
Say I don't want to auto-increment it.
Okay.
Because the application team, they require to enter the student ID manually. So I don't require it to be auto-incremented. Then what mistake we have made? You are telling that we have not specified the key, primary key. And who is telling primary key is not mandatory? Suppose we are entering application team or end user is entering a student ID as 1, name say Raju and other details. Another user entering another student as student ID 1, name Ravi and other details. What will happen?
So could you repeat the question?
Somebody said primary key is not mandatory in student ID. So now end user is typing or entering student records. Someone entered student ID 1, name Ravi and other details. Another user entered student num ID 1, name Ravi and other details. Then what will happen?
So there will be a confusion between the which student, if any user wants to access which student ID, will be a problem, right?
So this is a big problem.
Yes, sir.
So we must, whenever we are creating table, we must add constraint. So what are the types of constraint we are having? We are having three types of constraint, that is primary key, unique key, and a foreign key. Now then, what is the difference between primary key and unique key? Tell me, what is the difference between primary key and unique key?
Sir, primary key will accept null characters, null values. Will not accept, and unique key will accept.
Okay.
Like suppose we cannot keep the student ID empty at all. There has to be a student ID, otherwise there'll be problems. But unique key, like suppose phone number, if we keep unique key, we can put it as null.
In a table, we can add one primary key, but we can use multiple unique key in a table.
Very good. Anyone else try? So now tell me, what is null?
So null means nothing, like zero value.
Zero value.
So empty value.
Empty, yeah.
Right. It's an empty value, not a zero value. Zero
Yes,
is not.
sorry, I meant empty value, sir.
Yeah. Zero is not a null. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that means, yes, you are correct. Like if we specify a field as primary key, then we cannot keep that field empty at any point of time. If we are entering any record, we have to enter the student ID or the primary key field. And in case of unique key, we can insert one null value. And another thing is that in a table, we can have only one primary key field. And in case of unique field, we can have multiple unique field in the table. So now I have already created this table, but I forgot to insert the constraint primary key. Ajay, another one is foreign key. What is the foreign key?
Foreign key is a field in a suppose foreign key is a field in a table that is primary key in another table. Suppose there is two table. In one table it is a primary key, but in another table it will be a foreign key.
That means if we want to relate to table, it could be related by a field, common field, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
This provides a link between data into two tables.
Right. Now, then I have another question. Suppose I have two tables. Table 1 is student table, student list, and table 2, say, is subject table. Where in table 1 I have all these fields, right? And in table 2 I have three fields, that is subject, student ID, and say date of joining. Student ID, I will be the foreign key, I'm right. But if I change the column name, like in case of student ID, I just give ID. Can we create a foreign key with these two fields?
Sir,
In
no, sir.
So the
In
column name
table,
has to be identical.
I just repeat my question. In table student list, I have a column called student ID, and in subject list, I have a column called ID. Both are storing student ID. Can I make a relation between these two tables?
Yes, sir, we can create
Yes,
a
sir. Sure,
link
sir.
between the
Yes,
student ID
we,
equal to ID if we write.
yes, we can create a foreign key between student ID and ID in the other table. Because foreign key doesn't depend on your field name or column name. It depends, the condition is the column that you are referring to must be primary key in the other table. That's all. So now we forgot to insert this constraint to my table. So now I have to update the table. First I have to select the column. I just click on change. You can assign primary key from GUI, but it's not showing right now. Why? There was an option to insert primary key graphically.
Sir, may I help you?
Yeah,
Sir, go on previous page. There was an option to make a primary key.
that is here, but from here also I can select primary key.
So just mark the column which you want to make the primary key, and where the change the where we get the option of change, there's the option of primary. We can make primary key from there also.
Yeah, from here also I can make it a primary key. I can make
Yes,
it
sir.
primary. But I don't. I want from already. I think I made it or no. In that case, first we have to select the column, whichever column we want to make it primary key. Then we have to click on primary. It will give you this query. Then to put it yes. So now it is done. No, this is the query. Actually, we use basically this query to make any field primary key. But there is an option in GUI, so we just tried it. Anyway. Now, what all we have done, we have created a table with constraint, and now we want to insert some value into this table, right? To insert value, we'll open up this SQL editor and just type insert into student list. And if we are inserting values to all the field, then we can make it as values. The first is our student ID, that is I say 1. Then our student name, say Raju. If it is a string type of variable, then we have to write our value within single quotes. Then parent's name, that is again is a string character. After that, you have to check the order.
So the order is displayed on the right side of the screen.
Yes, sir.
So parent's name, date of birth, and gender. So for date also we have to use single quote, year, then month, suppose 08, then suppose 03 is the this thing, and then gender, say mail, and contact number, it's integer, so I can give. Just put control enter. What's the error?
So the name of your table is a student list, not student list. That is why it is doing an error.
Student list.
So the name is S student list.
Oh, a student list. Sorry. It should give me the selection permission at least.
Sir, you write wrong.
So you wrote the table name twice.
Student ID, student list.
And it should be as a student list. Insert into it as a student list.
I'll just make it another way. No. So one row inserted, right? If I want to see the record, I'll just put. So now, if I just want to insert in student ID, student name, student parent name, and say gender, the date of birth and this thing, contact details, record still I don't have. So how can I insert?
So could you repeat the question again, sir?
Yes, sir, repeat it.
I just want to insert values in student ID, student name, parent name, and gender. The date of birth and contact details I don't have, so I can't insert anything.
So we can keep it empty in colon.
I don't
So
want
just
to.
in two commas, inverted commas.
Inverted comma, we can keep the
But
inverted comma.
no. In this case, I'm just keeping two columns. But imagine a scenario where when my table, I'm having a 10 to 15 columns, and I just want to insert only two columns. Then, got my point?
Yes, sir.
Insert into table
Yes, sir.
name.
Sir, then we write the code that insert into student ID in small bracket start, and which column we want to insert the
Yes, sir.
data. We, we, we name that in that column and
Right,
value
right.
and the values.
Now, I want the student ID, then comma student name, and suppose say I just want to insert gender values within bracket with two comma within single quote male.
Sir, you open two bracket.
Oh. So I've inserted limited or few columns in the table. Can anyone tell me, in a table, columns can be named as what? And
Fields.
rows, yeah, and rows.
And rows can be
Records.
Very good. See, I have two values. The first one having all rows entered, and the second one, few rows are not entered. So that we can make entry some other time. Now, till now, anyone having any problem while understanding, you can ask me.
Sir, could you repeat the last question you have asked, sir? I didn't quite understand.
In a table, each column is called fields, and each row is called records.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Each row in a table is called records. Okay, so now tell me if you have any problem till now what we have done. Anybody having any problem? Now, Your task for today is to create another table called subject list, or I will just give the questions in the WhatsApp group. So which time will be preferable to you? 3 to 4 or 4 to 5?
4 to 5, sir.
Yes, sir. 4 to 5.
Yes, sir. 4 to 5 is perfect.
Everybody is ready for 4 to 5?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today's question I will put in the WhatsApp group, and you have to solve it by or before 4 p.m. today.
Okay, sir.
You can join with the same meeting ID, and if you cannot solve the task, don't worry, we'll have complete tasks in that session. Okay?
Okay, sir.
What are the things we need to write for subject list, like subject ID, student name?
That I'm giving. That I'm giving.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.